Hello everybody, this is the Shy Hat and we're going to be working through TryHackMe's Advent of Cyber 2023. This is day 2, it is December 2nd. If you want to join along with us, you can do so at the following link I'm going to be putting in chat. Alright, I hope you can see that. And let's just jump right into it. Yesterday we went through all of the introduction to the Advent of Cyber event on TryHackMe, and we also did day 1's challenge, which is the machine learning challenge right over here under task 7. But today we're going to be moving on to task 8, which is day 2, log analysis. All right, so let's first of all, let's start up the virtual machine associated with today's task. You can do so by clicking on the Start Machine button right over here. We can do so, and it's going to split the screen . And when it appears, it should split the screen in two, the web browser pane. So we'll just wait for that, and let's take a look at today's learning objectives. So in today's task, we're going to get an introduction to what data science involves and how it can be applied in cybersecurity. We're going to get a gentle introduction to Python. We're going to get to work with some popular Python libraries such as pandas and matplotlib to crunch data. And we're going to help Mick Honeybell establish an understanding of Antarcticraft's network. All right. So before moving forward, we're going to review the questions in the connection card shown below. So here, do I need to start the attack box today? No, we do not. Do we need to start a VM today? Yes. Is there a split screen available? Also yes. Is there a direct link available? No. And we don't have to access machines via RDP, VNC, or SSH. All right, so we should have had our split screen today. Let's, we're going to have to do a little bit of troubleshooting. Okay, let me try reloading the page. Okay, so here it says show split view. There's a button over here. We're just going to click on that. And we see that there's a virtual machine in this particular pane. What we're going to do is we're going to put this in its own browser tab. We can do that by clicking on View in Full Screen. So there's a button over here at the bottom and the corner of the pane. View in Full Screen, we're going to click on that, and it's going to put the virtual machine associated with this task in its own browser tab. And then we're going to go back to the original tab, and we're going to exit the split view on this tab, which is this button right over here at the bottom. Click on that. All right, so back to where we were. So we're looking at Data Science 101. Okay, so the core element of data science is interpreting data to answer questions. Data science often involves programming, statistics, and recently the use of artificial intelligence to examine large amounts of data to understand trends and patterns and help businesses make predictions that lead to informed decisions. The roles and responsibility of a data scientist include data collection. This phase includes collecting the raw data. This could be a list of recent transactions, for example. Data processing. This phase involves the raw data that was previously collected into a standard format the analyst can work with. This phase can be quite the time sink. Data mining, also known as clustering and classification. This phase involves creating relationships between the data, finding patterns and correlations that can start to provide some insight. Think of it like chipping away at a big stone, discovering more and more as you chip away. Analysis, which can be exploratory or confirmatory. This phase is where the bulk of the analysis takes place. Here, the data is explored to provide answers to questions and some future projections. For example, an e-commerce store can use data science to understand the latest and most popular products to sell, as well as create a prediction for the busiest times of the year. And lastly, we have communications, also visualization. This phase is extremely important. Even if you have the answers to the universe, no one can understand if you can't present them clearly. Data can be visualized as charts, tables, maps, etc. So we're talking about data science in cybersecurity. The use of data science is quickly becoming more frequent in cybersecurity because of its ability to offer insights. Analyzing data such as log events leads to an intelligent understanding of ongoing events within an organization. Using data science for anomaly detection is an example. Other uses of data science in cybersecurity include SIM. SIMs collect and correlate large amounts of data to give a wider understanding of the organization's landscape. Threat trend analysis. Emerging threats can be tracked and understood. Predictive analysis. By analyzing historical events, you can create a potential picture of what the threat landscape may look like in the future. This can aid in prevention of incidents. So today we're going to be dealing with Jupyter Notebooks. So, introducing Jupyter Notebooks. They are an open source document containing code, text, and terminal functionality. They are popular in the data science and education communities because they can be easily shared and executed across systems. Additionally, Jupyter Notebooks are a great way to demonstrate and explain proof of concepts in cybersecurity. Jupyter Notebooks could be considered as instruction manuals. As you will come to discover, a notebook consists of cells that can be executed one at a time, step by step. You'll see an example of a Jupyter Notebook in the screenshot below. Note that they are both formatted text. There are both formatted text and Python code being processed. Okay, so here you see that inside of a Jupyter Notebook, you can have regular text and also code. And the code can also be executed. And each one of these sections is called a cell. Before we begin working with Jupyter Notebooks for today's practicals, we must become familiar with the interface. So let's return to the machine we deployed at for the start of the task. Okay, so you'll be presented with two main panes. One on the left is the File Explorer, and on the right is the Workspace. So if we take a look at the separate tab here, the File Explorer is over on the left-hand side over here, and on the right-hand side, this is the Workspace. All right, let's go back. So you can double-click on the folder icon in the File Explorer to open and close the File Explorer. This can be useful on smaller resolutions. The Notebook's interface is illustrated below. So the Workspace over here has a cell. It has a Run button over here. It has a Format selector over here. There's another section over here for duplicate cell, move the cell up and down, add cells above or below, or to delete different cells within the notebook. Okay, so the first Jupyter Notebook we're going to work with is the Intro to Python notebook. So we can click on that, and then there is a single file inside of this directory. We can click on that. And this is going to be our Intro to Python Jupyter Notebook. You can see that there are it's made up of many cells, including code and regular text. All right, some notable buttons we're going to be using in today's task include the Save button, which is located right over here on the example. the run cell, which is run cell button, which we're going to be using a lot, and it's over here on the example. Run all cells, which is not something we're going to be using, but is located over here. Insert cell below, which is located right over here, and delete cell, which is located over here. So for now, don't worry about the toolbar at the very top of the screen. For brevity, everything has been configured for you. And finally, you can note that you can move cells by clicking and dragging the area to their left. So we can see here that we can click and drag cells to rearrange them. All right, so here's the practical portion. For the best learning experience, it is recommended that you follow along with the Jupyter Notebook stored on the VM. I will recommend what Jupyter Notebook to use in each section below. The notebooks break down each step of the content in much more detail. So we're going to do our Python crash course. So if you're following along, what you do is you go to the file browser section of the notebook. You click on that, and then from there you're going to see 4 different folders, and you're going to want to click on number 1, Intro to Python. So click on that, and then there's a single file in here, Python crash course. So you want to double click on that, and then the Python crash course file will open over here. So let's work through this Jupyter Notebook and get our Python crash course. So as we're working through the notebook, we're going to want to click on this button right here, run this cell to advance, to run the cell and to execute the code. So we need to click on the run button once, and then as we work through each one of these cells, we're going to click it after we finished it. So Python is an extremely versatile high-level programming language. Some examples include web development, game development, exploit development in cybersecurity, desktop application development, artificial intelligence, and data science. In today's task, we're going to learn how to use some potential data analysis libraries in Python, pandas, and matplotlib. So if we're already familiar with Python, we can move on, but we're just going to move through this quickly. So we finished this cell, so we're going to click on the run button right up here. So hello world. So there's no better place to start with the learning a new language than to learn the classic hello world test. Python makes it incredibly easy to display text on the terminal. To output hello world, we're going to use the print statement. To print text, we need to encapsulate our text with double quotation marks. Okay. So remember to press Shift-Enter or the Run button in the toolbar to execute the code. So here, this is the Python syntax to print hello world. So we can just click on the Run button to run the code, and it displays hello world as expected. Nice. Okay, so we're going to talk about some data types in Python. Programs can have all sorts of data within it. For example, whole numbers, also known as integers, 1, 2, and 3 are examples of whole numbers. Decimal numbers, also known as floats, which are numbers that are not whole, such as 4.5, 6.7, 8.9. Text, also known as strings. For example, hello, my name is Ben. And true-false statements. So true is 1 and false is 0. The program also needs to know how to handle this data. To do so, it's given a type. Take a look at the table below to see some of the basic types in Python. So for example, we've got integers, floats, strings, and booleans. We will explore these and more throughout today's task. Let's talk about variables. So programming variables, a good way to think of variables is a storage box with a label on it. Say you were moving house, you could put the items in a box and put a label on it so that you know what the box contains. So everybody, this is this text is a bit small, so I'm going to enlarge it for you all. Let me just, whoops, make this a bit bigger, a bit smaller. Okay, so that should be a lot easier for you guys to read. Say you were moving house, you could put items in a box and put a label on it so you know what the box contains. It is very similar in programming. Variables are used to store data given a name and accessed later. The structure of a variable looks like the following. Label equals data. So we recall our quick lesson on data types. How we assign our data depends on the data type. Okay, in this code over here, age is our label, which is the variable name, and 23 is our data. And the data type is an integer. All right, so here there's a variable. The variable name is age, and the value of the variable is 23. So we'll create another variable named name and store the string data type. Name equals Ben. This is another variable. The variable is called name, and the value of the variable is Ben. So because this is a string in Python, we have to encapsulate it in these quotes. They can be single or double quotes. And another way to store whether or not the person is left-handed or not. So this is another variable here, is left-handed, and we're going to be, so the value of it is left-handed, the variable is going to be either true or false. So this is not a string. So for true or false statements, you just have to type in the word true or false. You don't have to put it in quotes. All right, so we've completed that. We're going to press run again. Variables are essential in programming, are used throughout the program. For now, we're going to use Python's print statement to put the contents of the variables. So here, we use the print statement to print some text and return the contents. So here, we see that there are several print statements. Oh, we need to press run again. We see there are several print statements. We're going to print the name variable, the age variable, and is left-handed variable. Sorry, we're going to print name and then the name variable, age and then the age variable, and is left-handed and then the is left-handed variable. Sorry about that. So this is what should print out here, and if we run the cell, we get exactly that. Variables can be modified at a later stage of the program. Take the following example. Ben has celebrated a birthday. All right, so variables can also be modified later on in the program. So Ben's age is listed as 23, but we can update, if for some reason we need to update the variable to something else, we can do that. So we can also, so here in this code, we can update the age to 24, and then we're going to print the same thing again, and instead of 23, the age should equal 24. So let's run that. Okay. So note, this isn't the most efficient way of doing it. We're just covering the foundations. So we're going to move on to lists. Lists are one of what are called data structures in Python. Lists are used to store a collection of values as a variable. For example, we've got this list right here that's called transport. So transport is the name of variable, and the list is the value of the variable. And we have three different types of transport. We've got car, plane, and train, and these are all strings. And for this other list, we have the name of the variable age, and the value is a list. And we have strangely, we don't have a number, we don't have integers, but we have strings of numbers, which are 22, 19, and 35. Okay, so we've finished with that, so we're gonna press run, and press run again. So another thing that we can do inside of Python is we can import code to use in our project. So this is called importing. In this case, we're importing libraries. So what is a library? A library is a collection of code that can be imported into an application. Think of it as a plugin. Libraries are extremely useful because it allows you to add functionality to your program without having to write it from scratch. In today's task, we'll be introduced to the pandas and matplotlib libraries. By using these libraries, we can very quickly get hands-on with data manipulation. To import a library, we need to use the import keyword and the name of the library. So note that you will have to have the library installed on the machine that you're using. This has been done for you in today's task. Okay, so we press run. So here we're importing the pandas library. So in Python, if you want to import a module or a library, you use the import keyword along with the name of the module or library. But we can also rename the libraries as we're importing them. So for example, if when we want to use the pandas library, we want to use the word PD because that's shorter and easier to use instead of the full name of it, which is pandas. So we're going to import pandas as PD. So whenever we use the PD inside of our code, we're referring to the pandas library. All right, so that's the end of this. That's the end of this module, of this part of the. No, we want to go to this tab. Yes. All right, so we've just finished our section on the Python crash course. We don't need to take a look at all of this stuff. Wait, no. I went a little too far. Okay, so we're looking at pandas now. All right. So the notebook for this section can be found in 2 Introduction to Pandas. All right, so we're going to open up that notebook inside of Jupyter. So we can go over here, and then we can click on the File Explorer, and we can click on number 2, Introduction to Pandas, which is this one. And then we can click on the Introduction to Pandas notebook. We can close the Python 3 crash course because we were done with that. All right, so introduction. Pandas is a Python library that is used with datasets. Datasets are collections of related information. For example, a list of sales figures is considered a data set. Pandas allows us to manipulate, analyze, explore, and clean the dataset. Cleaning is essential to data analysis as it will improve the data quality, produce more accurate results, and make the data much easier to work with. So the notebook assumes that you have read through the Introduction to Python notebook. If you have not done so, please do so before proceeding. All right, so we're talking about series. We'll press run because we're finished with that section. Let's see if we can make this a little bigger. Okay. So a series and data structure within pandas uses a key value pair. This data structure can be considered a column in a table because it is one-dimensional. A series comprises a key value pairing, where the key is the indices and the value is the data stored within the index. Take a look at the table below for an example. So for example, we had our transport list in our previous example. So we have so the key value is the place that a value has in the list. So we have a value of 0. So we start counting from 0 when we're dealing with lists. So 0 is train, 1 is plane, and 2 is car. All right, so we're going to press run, run, run. Let's demonstrate this in Python. First, we need to import the pandas library into our program. To make it easier in the future, we're going to import pandas as PD. So we're importing pandas as PD because PD is a little bit shorter to type out. So we import it. So let's create a variable that is going to contain our data within it as a Python list. The data in this case is the modes of transportation. So transportation is the variable, and it's a list, and it's these 3 things. So if we were to print it, it would give us this output. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to turn this into a series. So let's create a variable, transport series, invoke pandas series function, panda.series, and we're going to provide the variable transportation to it. And then we're going to print out the series, print transportation series. Okay, so in this code here, we're going to create a new variable, which is transportation series, which is equal to panda series. We're going to apply series to the transportation list, which we created in a previous step. And then we're going to print the transportation list, and it should give us this output right here. So we press run, and it does exactly that. So note that the D type over here, this is the type of objects within a series. For now, here is a quick list of some examples of objects. Strings are known as objects, and integers are known as int64. All right, so here we've got data frames. So data frames extend a series. In fact, data frames are a grouping of series and can be thought of as a spreadsheet or database because it's two-dimensional, a table with rows and columns. Data frames are a crucial concept to understand. In this scenario, we are going to load the following data into a data frame. So we're going to have three columns of data. We're going to have our name, we're going to have our age, and we're going to have our country of residence. So we're going to try to create something that looks a bit like this. So we're going to have name, age, country, and residence, and 3 entries with their respective columns. Let's proceed. Okay, so we're going to be creating a number of we're going to create a list within a list. So here, the data variable is going to be a big list with a bunch of smaller lists inside them. So there's going to be, let's call them a Ben list, a Jacob list, and an Alice list with a bunch of info in here. And now we're going to create a new variable, df, to store the data frame using the list. So here, df, the variable df is going to be the pandas data frame, and we're going to give the data frame, which is this list, a bunch of columns, which are equal to name, age, and country of residence. So if we click this, then we should get this list right here. So this code will create this table. All right, so that worked. So that's a great start. Pandas allows us to do all sorts of manipulating. For example, let's say we want to return a specific row. We can use pandas LOC, I guess we would call it a function, and the index number of the row. In this demonstration, I want to return row number 2. The indice of the number for this will be 1. Remember that we're counting from 0, so if we want to get the second column, we have to use the number 1. Okay, so this, we run, and then when we run this code, df.lock, and we give it the number 1, it's going to give us the second entry in the series. All right, and that did. Now we're going to talk about grouping. So grouping is an essential concept in data analysis. Essentially, grouping is an operation in pandas that allows us to group our data into categories and do something with them, such as grouping columns, grouping rows, and comparing. In the example below, the company has hosted an awards night. We can use pandas group by to group the columns department and prize and sum to see how many awards each department has won. Okay, so here we're going to load in a file for pandas to read from. So our df, our data frame, is going to be pandas reading the awards.csv file. So inside the file, if we run the data frame, we see that we have employees. So we have a table with employees, departments, and prizes. Let me press run on that. So if we want to see how many prizes each department has won, we can use the group by with the department and the prize columns, and then we can get the sum, the total number in each one of those columns. So department doesn't have any numbers, but prize does. And we're going to use the sum. We're going to use the sum. Oh, what is this called? The sum. I knew this before, but we're going to use the sum function with it at the end there to return the sum of how many prizes each department has received. Okay, we press run. All right, so we see that the accounts department has received 1 prize, the IT department 2, and the support department has received 0. Okay, and we can also use the describe function here to give a summary breakdown of the data in percentiles. Okay, so if we run this particular line of code, so the data frame, and then we'd use group by with department and prize, and then apply the describe. It's a method. I think it's called a method. Then we receive this this output right here with the different percentile breakdowns, summary breakdown of data in percentiles. Right. Okay. So we run that, and that is the end of this section. Okay. All right, so the last section before we move on to the questions for today's task is we're going to be talking about Python's matplotlib. So the notebook for this section can be found at number 3, intro to matplotlib, and then intro to matplotlib, the Jupyter notebook. So we go back to the file explorer, click on the folder, click on number 3, and then enter the matplotlib. Double click that, and we can close out introduction to pandas over here. Okay, let's run through this. So introduction. So welcome to my favorite part of data analysis. Who doesn't love a graph? The notebook will introduce you to the incredible, powerful library named matplotlib. Matplotlib allows us to use visualizations for our data and is used extensively throughout the data science community. Visualizations are helpful because they make the data much more accessible to others. A trend graph is much easier to read than some code. Plus, they look cool. Please note that the notebook assumes that you're familiar with the previous sections. All right, so we're going to create our first plot. To do so, we need to import some libraries. Okay, so we're going to import, so like in previous lessons, we're going to import some libraries. We're going to import pandas as PD, like we did before. And we're going to import matplotlib as PLT. Okay. Before we begin, we need to tell matplotlib how to behave in our environment. By default, matplotlib will want to open up a plot in a new window, but because we're using Jupyter, we want to tell matplotlib to render the graphs in Jupyter. Okay, so there is this line that it's used mainly for configuration purposes, and we'll just run past it. So to create a first plot, we simply need to invoke the pyplots PLT function plot. By default, Matplotlib will create a line graph unless told otherwise. Line graph is useful when showing trends over time. So we will explore some other plot types throughout this notebook. Okay. So if we use this code right here, plt.plot, then we should receive an empty graph just like this. Remember, our graph has no data. So let's plot some data by providing some values in our plt.plot. So we're going to start by making a very simple plot using an array before we get into the nitty-gritty. Okay, remember it goes X and then Y along the corridor and then up the stairs. So we're going to plot January, February, March, April on the bottom, and our corresponding values are going to be 8, 14, 23, and 40. So if we run this, we see that we get our relevant X and X labels over here, and the Y and Y values over here. So okay, now we're getting somewhere. At the moment, we don't know what this graph is telling us. Thankfully, PyPlot has some functions that allow us to make this graph more descriptive. Take a look at the table below. So we're going to plot in a Y label and an X label and a title for the entire graph. Okay, so the Y label gives us a label for the Y-axis, the X label gives us a label for the X-axis, and the title gives us a title for the whole graph. So run. So we're going to create labels over here. So X label is going to be months of the year. Y label is going to be number of toys produced. And the title of the graph is going to be a line graph showing the number of toys produced between September and December. And the actual data for the graph is going to be what we did previously: September, October, November, December, and then we're going to plug in the numbers 8, 14, 80, and 160, and it should create a graph just like this. So we see that our label has been created, our x-axis label has appeared here, and our y-axis label has been, it appears over here, right? All right, so that's more like it. We can see a visible trend in the increase in toy production. It looks like Antarctic Crafts had a busy November, December. I guess I'm not the only one who leaves my Christmas shopping to last minute. Okay, so next we'll learn about how to make bar graphs. I'll catch you at the bar graph. A bar chart is great for comparing data points. For example, comparing what the Frostling's favorite drinks are. In this scenario, Antarctic Crafts Management is trying to decide what the most popular drinks are to stock in the communal vending machine. To find out, they've asked the employees to vote on their favorite soft drinks. It is our job to plot this data for management. Here's a snippet of the spreadsheet that we're going to be analyzing. So it's going to be a spreadsheet with drinks and how many employees voted for that drink as their favorite. Okay, we're going to create a bar graph to find out. This time we're going to read data from the spreadsheet, and here's what we're going to do. We're going to use pandas pd.read function to import the spreadsheet drinks.csv into a variable called spreadsheet. Then we're going to extract the columns drink and vote and store them in our own variables, drinks and votes. And finally, we're going to create a bar graph to visualize the data. Okay, so here we create the variable spreadsheet, which is the pandas read CSV function applied to the drinks file right here, and that is going to be our spreadsheets variable. So we're going to take things from the spreadsheet and create new variables called drinks and votes according to spreadsheet, the drink column, and the spreadsheet vote column. And in step 3, they're going to tell pyplot the size of the figure and find a value that improves readability. So here, the figure size has been adjusted from 10 and 6. All right, not exactly sure what that does, but we will continue. So we're going to tell pyplot to use the bar graph by using the bar method right here. H means horizontal and V means vertical bar graph. So we're going to be using a horizontal bar graph, and we're going to incorporate drinks, the drinks column, the votes column, and the color of the bars are going to be sky blue. And then we create labels for all these things, and then we title the graph. And this last one right here is we're going to invert the y-axis for better readability. And we run this. And then we create a bar graph over here showing the most popular drinks in a bar graph. So we've got our x-axis information right here, the number of votes and the label, and we have our y-axis information, the name of the drink and the names of the individual drinks, and then the bars over here. And that is all for this section. All right, now we're going to move to our capstone exercise. We've learned how to process data using pandas and matplotlib. We're going to continue on to the workbook that's located in the capstone folder of the VM. So we're going to answer the questions over here to finish off the room. We're just gonna click that for fun. We're going to need to answer these 4 questions over here. 1, 2, 3. Oh, only 3 questions. Okay. All right. So to do that, we're going to need to load up our last notebook, which is number 4, the capstone. And we're going to open the notebook in here, the workbook rather. And we can close out the intro to matplotlib tab. Okay, so what does it say in our introduction here? So introduction, your task is to apply the skills learned through today's task to analyze a packet capture from an Antarctic network. So you will need to, 1, use pandas to group use pandas to group and analyze the data in source, destination, and protocol. 2, apply functions such as sum, average, size, and describe to this grouping. And we see that the packet capture and the required libraries have been imported for you. Pandas as PD and packet capture network traffic.csv as df. All right. So we have to answer the following questions. Number 2, how many packets were captured, looking at the packet number. Number 3, what IP address sent the most amount of traffic during the packet capture. And number 4, what was the most commonly used protocol? Okay, we're going to place our code in the cells below. Okay, we're going to run the code. So this code right here that imports all of our libraries, and this one right here, which imports our spreadsheet. And we're going to answer the questions below with a couple of queries. So question 2, we're going to use the pandas count function on the data frame. For example, dataframe.count. Okay, so for question number 2, we're trying to get the number of packets inside of the data frame. And for this, we can use the data frame, and then we're going to reference the packet number column. And then we're going to use the count method. And then we're going to run that. And we get 100. So 100 is the answer. We're going to copy that. And then we're going to use that to answer the question over here. How many packets are captured? Paste in 100. Click submit. OK. So we're going to go back to our next question. Question number 3 is how many, sorry, what is, one more time. What IP address sent the most amount of traffic during the packet capture? So we're trying to get to which IP address sent the most traffic, right? So here you can perform a group by with pandas size function on the source and destination columns. Remember that the data frame in this notebook is called df, not data frame. Okay, click on the hint on TryHackMe if you're stuck. So here we can do df, and then we're going to do group by, and then we're going to group by, and we're going to use the source column. And we're going to apply the size method, and we're going to run that. I did something wrong. Group by size. Okay, let's get a hint from. Okay, we're going to need to use the size function on the column is called source. I thought I did that. df.group by column name. Oh, I forgot to put I'm not quite sure what the problem is here is. Okay, let's read this description again. Source and destination columns. The data frame in this notebook is called df, not data frame. Click on the hint on TryHackMe if you're stuck. df.group by source. Oh, do I need to put parentheses around this? Oh, that okay, sorry, that was a syntax error on my part. Okay, so which IP address produced the most traffic? We've got a number and we've got the different IP addresses, and it looks like this one right here created the most traffic. Okay, we can copy that and use that as the answer. All right, and let's do the last question over here. Okay, so the last question is here. So let's take a look at the question. What was the most frequent protocol? Okay, so number 4 here, you can use the pandas value.counts on the appropriate column. Remember, we are counting how many values there are in the protocol column. Okay. So we can solve this by using df, and the protocol column. And then we're going to get the value we're going to apply the value counts method to it, and hopefully it gives us an answer. Okay, so we've received the protocols and then the values of each one of these protocols. Okay, so it seems that ICMP was the protocol with the most value. So we can use that as the answer for that question. The most frequent protocol was ICMP. Click Submit. Okay, and it looks like we just need to click on this and we've completed today's room. All right, so that was today's TryHackMe Advent of Cyber challenge. This one was on data science, and we took a look and we used a lot of Jupyter notebooks, which are very common as far as data science is concerned. If you want to learn more about Python in general, I have a series of videos walking through different the basics of Python broken up into different parts. So here on the YouTube at the Shy Hat channel, I'll leave that in the chat. You can see all the videos I have over here, and our blue series is our series on Python programming. You can tell because the thumbnails have. Oh, thank you for subscribing, HP Huo 25. So you can see here that I've got 1, 2. Actually, the introduction is not an actual lesson, but I've got 1, 2, 3, and 4 different videos on Python programming if you're interested in learning the basics of Python programming for cybersecurity. But as for today, that's all the time we have for today because we finished our TryHackMe Advent of Cyber challenge. Thank you very much for watching today, and we'll be back tomorrow where we're going to be doing more Advent of Cyber challenges. Join me then, but until then, have a great day and have a great rest of your day. See you next time.